hair okay?
Looks good. Looks better than mine. So. Okay. Well, I think we're ready. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Charles Black-Lance.
Here.
Kevin Boyles.
Here.
Tom Hagelin.
Here.
Ruth Nelson.
Here.
Bob Nystrom.
Here.
Jana Shogren.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As we get started here, I'd just like to start with our announcement. We are still in the Minnesota Directive for residents regarding COVID-19. So this meeting of the Brainerd School Board is being conducted in accordance with Minnesota Statutes 13D.021. This meeting is being recorded. Access to the recording will be made available on the school district's website, and also you can watch it live on YouTube. Next, we're going to go to approval of the agenda, and we do have some amendments, so I don't know if you had a chance to look at the amended agenda. A few things were added. And if there are no questions, if someone would make a motion.
I'll move to approve the agenda as presented, amended agenda as presented.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Director Boyles, second by Director Nelson, to approve the agenda as amended. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion passes. Next, we'll go to district recognition. Superintendent Larson.
Thank you very much. Tonight we have lots of congratulations. It's been an exciting week at Brainerd Public Schools. Congratulations to BHS senior Meryl Tiganoa for earning a place on the 2021 Minnesota Speech Coaches Association All-State Speech Team. To qualify for all-state recognition, our speakers must achieve a series of milestones established by the MSCA. Qualifications include being a senior in high school, documented excellence in competition, competing on section teams, and at least one appearance at the Minnesota State High School League State Speech Tournament, and utilizing their speech skills in at least 3 other activities. Example, National Honor Society, drama, athletics, and etc. Community engagement is also a qualifying criteria. Thank you to our principals at Brainerd Public Schools. A week ago Saturday was National Principal Appreciation Day on May 1st. We are extremely thankful for the work that our principals do. They are the glue that keeps the school buildings together, and they never forget about how amazing our staff, our students, and our parents are, and how much of a difference they make in their buildings. Thank you also to our amazing teachers at ISD 181. Last week was National Teacher Appreciation Week, and National Appreciation Day was May 4th. Working together, our teachers have once again done something incredible. During school year 2021, we observed our teachers' expertise as they juggled the required learning models resulting from COVID-19, and while at the same time, commendably educating our students and taking care of one another. Thank you to our teachers. Thank you also to our interpreters. It was National Interpreters Day on May 5th. Our interpreters play a vital role in the lives of our students who are deaf and hard of hearing, and to their families, and throughout our community. Oftentimes, they quietly go about their jobs and do not stop to thank them for the unique role that they play in educating our school community. Thank you also to our school lunch heroes. It was School Lunch Heroes Day on May 7th, 2021. Thank you for all the food service staff for everything they do and for serving nutritious meals every day. There's no need for a cape when you have an apron on. Thank you to our cooks and all of our food service workers. So as you can tell, we had a lot of people to recognize last week, and once again, particularly with this crazy year that we've had, we want to commend all of them. Also, at this time, I want to commend all of the nurses in our school district, as last week was Nurses Appreciation Week. And so congratulations and thank you to them as well for their work with COVID-19 and for keeping our kids healthy and seeing to it that they need each and every day. Finally, I want to thank the Brainerd Public School Foundation. Last week, Chair Nystrom and I were at the Senior Awards Banquet. And during this awards banquet on Wednesday, May 5th, the foundation awarded over $140,000 in scholarships to our seniors and the members of the graduating class of 2021. Thank you to them for their commitment to our kids, and thank you to our students and our parents and our teachers for making it a reality. That's all I have.
Thank you. Next, we're going to go into public input. And so if we have someone that would like to address the board, they can do that. And I think we have a couple people here today. Hi, Jean.
Hi.
In our public input, the school board, we have to enforce a 3-minute limit on each person speaking. Also, during the public comment session, complaints or allegations against students or employees may not be discussed due to data privacy. And then also, we're here to listen, but we can't do a verbal exchange.
Okay. I thought you was as old as I was.
What's that?
I thought you were just as old as I am. I'm over 80.
Oh,
It's
No.
been like 1958 since I left this school.
you don't look that old.
Yeah, I feel it though at times. The question I kind of had, I talked to Tim Murda, because I'd heard all this stuff in the last few weeks about critical race theory. And I know it doesn't affect somebody my age, but I had basically called trying to find out more about it because I do have grandchildren and stuff like that. And I've been hearing this discussion about the critical race theory. And when I called them and talked to them, took about 4 or 5 different people I had to talk to get to them. But some of the words that he was using was the same words that when I asked, they were the same words that I was hearing was so bad. It's like anti-American type of, he was using equities and stuff like that, which is the same stuff that they tell about. And I just wanted to know if this school or Crow Wing County basically has any of that critical race theory in our programs. That was my question, and I said I don't feel I'm getting a straight answer because it seemed like I was going around in circles.
And Jean, was that Mr. Murtha?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And maybe it's me, I don't know, but it's apparently a growing concern around the whole country. And I just was wondering if we were that involved here with that particular part of the program.
I would have to read up on it as I'm not versed on it.
Well, sometimes it's just a matter of words that are changed, apparently. I was trying to do some research on it today, and you could pull up enough stuff to fill this room probably. But that was basically my question at this point is all.
Okay. Well, we will look into it, and I promise we will get back to you
Okay.
with an answer.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any, Corey, is there anyone else? Okay.
You're lucky.
And Gene, thank you for your service when you were on the Brainerd City Council.
That's been a long time ago, too.
I know.
I told somebody the other day, it was about 30 years ago, but it was actually back in the 70s.
Yeah, well, some of us in this room still remember. So thank you. Next, we'll go on to the approval of the minutes, and we have to amend the minutes from the regular board meeting of April 12th, and I just need to read a statement here. Before the board approves the minutes from the April 12th meeting, I would like to address a concern that was raised about the manner in which the board approved separate audiovisual public address system proposals for Riverside Elementary School and Garfield Elementary School. This approval occurred on April 12th. The April 12th minutes clarify that the board's approval motion was intended to approve two separate proposals from Digital Horizons. The proposals are not being combined into one contract. The board's action was to approve two separate proposals, which will be handled under separate contracts awarded to Digital Horizons. So the word that we have to change in the minutes would be from proposal to proposals, so that they would be correct. And if you agree upon that, that would be on the amended board minutes from April 12th.
I'll move to approve the regular board meeting minutes of April 12th with that amendment of proposals.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Director Hegland, second by Director Sjogren, to approve the regular board minutes of April 12th, 2021, but changing proposal to proposals. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion passes. Next, we had a special board meeting on April 28th, and we need to approve those minutes also.
I'll move the approval of the special board meeting on April 28th.
Okay?
I'll second it.
Okay. We have a motion by Director Nelson, second by Director Boyles, to approve the minutes from the special board meeting of April 28th. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion passes. Next, we're going to go to the consent calendar, but we have a special guest tonight. And he is, you go ahead.
Oh, I'd be happy. First of all, Mike, we'll have you come up to the mic. Board, I am just really thrilled. If you remember at the last board meeting, we hired the new technical director for the Performing Arts Center with Brainerd Public Schools. And if you remember when we talked about him, we said that he comes to us with a breadth of knowledge and just a well-rounded resume of work in theater and in the technical aspects of theater. And so I asked him if he would come tonight and be introduced to you and just give you a brief rundown, a little bit of his history and some of his hopes and dreams for the Performing Arts Center and what the future of it can be and what your first thoughts are. Today was his first day.
Yeah, no,
So-
it's very exciting. The Performing Arts Center that is being built here is just a phenomenal facility. So it's really exciting to be brought on board, especially with its founding and opening, to be able to be part of that. And I've also had family in the area as long as I've lived. We've got family up in Nisswa, so it's cool to see this type of a facility showing up in Brainerd. Is just really exciting. Also, apologies for being a little bit jittery. I'm used to being backstage, not like center. So, anyway. But yeah, I really started to find my love for theater in high school too, which is another reason why like working in a high school is really exciting, because like that's really where I got my foundation. Found that it was something that I both excelled at and really made me feel like I had a sense of community where I did not before. So to be able to be part of a program that's going to help develop that is also extremely exciting. From there, I went on to college, started off with stage management, really got into lighting design, and by the end of my time there, I received a post-baccalaureate scholarship in order to run the scene shop for a year in exchange for free tuition. So ran the shop there for a year, went to Chicago for 7 years where I freelanced doing lighting design for several storefront companies. I worked with a couple of schools. Became a regular at the Columbia College Dance Center, helping them with touring shows that would come through. And then I moved to Arizona, where I worked at the Mesa Art Center for a year and a half. That's a 4-stage venue that, again, worked with lots of touring groups. So really got sort of an idea. Most of my training for like working with professional touring groups came from my time there. In the last 4 years, I've been working with the Elk River School District up at Zimmerman High School, again, helping develop a program specifically directed with technical theater for students. So with that experience, I'm hoping to be able to do something similar here. It already sounds like there's a pretty robust drama department, and just seeing, again, the facility and the choir and band groups, really excited to be able to start digging in and starting to build a real technical program here and get more and more students involved as we can. So thank you.
Well, welcome, Mr. Smith. And I also want to say that Superintendent Larson is a great judge of character and talent. So when she told me about you, we are expecting big things from you.
I will do my best.
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. Don't worry about it.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice to have you. Welcome to the team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, next we'll go to the consent calendar. And you should have had a chance to read those. Are there any questions? Okay. Would someone make a motion?
I move. I
Okay.
move to accept the consent calendar.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion by Director Blackland, second by Director Nelson, to approve the consent calendar as presented. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Next, we're going to have the COVID presentation. Angie Bennett.
Hey, folks. This will hopefully be very quick for you as we continue to, oop. Is it on here?
I got it. Hold on.
Oh. Nope. Thank you. All right, here we go. So things are continuing to go in the right direction, which is wonderful news as we go into our final 9 days of the school year. As you can see by the graph, numbers are continuing to go down from when we peaked a couple weeks ago. Right now, for staff, we only have 3 in quarantine and 1 positive. On Friday, we had 1 in quarantine, and I think that's the first time in the entire school year. And so I didn't knock on wood loud enough. We got a couple more, but we're still doing really quite well. Students as well continue to go down or stay stable. We do have 10 positive students currently on quarantine. The remainder, for the majority, are close contacts that had to be quarantined due to those positive cases. We wanted to just kind of give a quick update. I'm sure many of you already have seen this, but there were some restrictions lifted. I think it was last week by Governor Walz, and the majority of it was in regard to indoor and outdoor venues and the capacity limits. So I just kind of broke it down. So starting on May 7th, all venues may open at 50% capacity for up to 250. And it kind of breaks it down even further by that. With indoors, it is still requiring that masks are worn. But beginning on May 27th, all the limits on size and social distancing are expiring. Masks will continue to be required at this time for all indoor gatherings.
Angie, if you go back.
Yep.
In the second bullet where it says, for non-seated indoor venues, the venue may operate with an additional 15% of capacity. That's what we were looking for as far as the grand opening of the Performing Arts Center. We knew we could have 355 as of last week. We now can have 425 guests. And so we're hoping that more people will go online and get tickets. The tickets are free, but we're going to be able to accommodate 75 people is a lot of people. And so we were really thrilled that that expanded for us for next week. So don't forget to go online and get your tickets because it's going to be a great night.
Okay, I'll move into outdoor events. Beginning May 7th, all capacity limits and distancing requirements for outdoor events were eliminated. Masks are required in venues with more than 500 people in attendance. So those outdoor events don't require masks unless you exceed that 500.
So at graduation, we'll need to wear masks, but we can have all of the guests that we would normally have for our graduates, and we can have all of our graduates.
Organized youth and adult sports. Some of this was already kind of shared, I think a couple meetings ago. It might have even been last meeting. But again, the occupancy limits and distancing requirements have changed. Masks are still required for venues over 500. Indoor sports, we still need to pod groups, and face coverings are still required for practice and games. I believe that's just the indoor sports. The outdoor sports, as we had mentioned in a previous presentation, that had been lifted for practice and for games. There's additional guidance linked in this document as well if people wanted to read up more on that. And then again, beginning on May 27th, all capacity limits and distancing requirements will be lifted. From my understanding, the masking is still remaining in place per the outdoor guidance as well after that May 27th date. For school buildings, I mean, this does help us in some of the activities and events that we have for the end of the school year. However, as far as regular school operations, we are still operating under the Safe Learning Plan. So a lot of the things that we already had implemented are not changing at this point. And we are nearing the end of the school year, so I'm assuming that there'll be additional guidance this summer about next year. And hopefully some more things can get lifted for the school buildings as well. That is about it. Braden Public Schools, we're ending strong. Our numbers have continued to drop. We appreciate all the families and students and staff, really taking the guidance seriously and staying home when they're sick and kind of getting tested, going through all the protocols so that we can keep as many of our students and staff in the building as possible to finish out the year. But do you guys have any other questions?
One quick question. Any changes to the quarantine if exposed?
Only nothing since I last updated you. I mean, the vaccination, if you're 14 days beyond the last vaccination, you are exempted from close contact. We still can do the shortened quarantine period for one-time exposure. So if there was a classroom exposure, there is a shortened quarantine period that if you test after 5 days, that test comes back negative, you can come back on day 8. And then if you choose not to test, you can come back on day 11, I believe, as long as there's no symptoms present. So we're not having to go the full 14 days anymore for the one-time exposures. The family exposures, however, especially with how much we're seeing as one person gets positive in the family, the whole family tends to get it. They are not allowing that shortened quarantine period unless there's really some strong isolation happening, and that's pretty significant isolation, not sharing a restroom or common spaces and stuff like that.
Thank you.
Yep. Did you have something?
Well, yeah, I was just going to say on behalf of a grateful board, thank you for everything that you did, that Heidi, Lane, Corey, anyone else I'm missing. I know this was a difficult year, probably the most difficult in your education career, and we appreciate that you never gave up.
Oh, thank you, and I do a shout out to all of our nursing staff. There have been many, many people who have worked tirelessly to try and make this as safe as possible for everybody involved, and making those late night phone calls and all of the organizing, seating charts, all of that. It's really taken a lot of teamwork, and I'm very, very appreciative of everybody that has done that, so.
And you worked all weekend again.
Yeah, we jinxed it. Yep, I said, I try to knock on wood, and I didn't do it enough times, but we're almost there, and our numbers are really quite low. I mean, staff numbers, like I said, we haven't seen this since school started. So that's pretty exciting.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Thank you. Next, we will have a presentation on Blueprint 181. Damien and Scott.
Is that one on here?
I don't know which one it is, do you?
All right. Great to see everybody.
Yeah, it's nice
It's
to
so
have
much
you.
better than talking to a computer. Here is our bond improvements update for May 10th, 2021. Tonight, we're going to talk about project updates. We're going to review the high school proposal request number 40, which includes some pool changes. Then we're going to look at FF&E, a couple of FF&E action items, one for the Wave 2 elementary schools and one for the high school, with Lindsay Krenz from Widseth. With that, I'm going to let Scott talk about the high school.
All right, Area 2, we're kind of broken up into two different areas up there. Area 2, which is the PAC itself and all those support classrooms on the north side. That is substantially complete. Right now, we're just doing some cleaning, final little punch list items, and working through those kind of nuances there. The auditorium, today we did start with AV equipment startup, and we're working on getting the flooring and nosing completed. That is the one remaining item for occupancy, and we've got a plan in place with the flooring installers to have that rectified by the end of the day tomorrow, which should give us occupancy by Wednesday morning, and in time for all of our trainings that are happening this week, and a concert on Friday. So Area 10, as you can see in the upper right-hand corner there, the north half of the lap pool is formed out. Essentially, they're just working on getting the southern half of it completed, and then some pool mechanical room items. Area 6 is commercial equipment and marble countertops. A little bit of a delay on our marble countertops. We're expecting to see them in a couple of weeks, but that's not really holding anything up in that area because we're like 3.5 to 4 months ahead of schedule there. Greenhouse, northern footings are complete. The southern footings have been dug, and they should be poured today. Area 7, which is kind of our wood shop area, we're just working on HVAC and electrical rough-ins. And then Area 9, which is the Ox Gym, our southern footings are complete. We're working to complete our northern half of our footings, so kind of working through egress complications, but maintaining egress until school's out on May 21st. And on the 24th, we have precast coming for the gym. So they'll start with anchors and then move to setting up the actual box the week after that, so June 1st. Any questions on that? Can move through it quickly.
Exciting.
All right.
Is there carpet in the orchestra pit?
There is.
Wow, I didn't know that. Cool.
And there's also an acoustical curtain in there. So depending on what configuration you put the acoustical curtain in, we can move it to the front, and that'll be set up for the high school orchestra. We can move it to the back. That'll be set up for production orchestra, or we can move it off to the side if nobody wants it to be in there. Yeah, so
there's pictures here too.
Yeah. This is mainly the Ox Gym and pool. You can see we got our pump truck down there pumping out those the southern footings, and we have a southern retaining wall in order to access an elevated door on the south side of the gym. And I think that was it. So PR40, which is in your board packet. So that's capturing some clarifications to our MDH response. So we did have to do a separate pool approval plan for MDH plan review for the pool. So that's rectifying those issues. There were some structural clarifications with rebar grounding, as well as schedule updates to include our ADA lifts, upgrade to the base, and then some full structural changes related to the mechanical room.
So I'm in action, and they'll come up here a little later in the meeting.
All right, South Campus. Our building permit's ready to issue. So our Mendoli Building Plan Review issue letter was complete about 2 weeks ago. The city of Brainerd has reviewed it. They saw no issues with it. We are in compliance with the conditions put on us through the permitting process. Temporary power staging is going on right now. So Holden Electric is inside the building, moving some temp power to some strategic locations. We are pulling out some hazardous material as we go through there. They did start with some asbestos abatement in unoccupied rooms, primarily in the northwest corner of the building. Demo plan, we're going through that constantly with contractors, making sure everything goes off without a hitch. We're gonna start painting all the tunnels on the floor, reviewing all of our areas where shoring is required and things of that nature. Building and grounds, moving out of the unoccupied spaces, that's going incredibly well. We're down to some pretty localized areas of the building. Starting the 24th is gonna be the final move out, and we're hoping to have that wrapped up by the 28th, because June 1st, we come in there and start doing our de-energization and selective demolition as well.
There's a lot of work that's taking place on, we're wrapping up the work on the north side of the campus, and obviously the south side of the campus, there's a lot going on already, and when South Campus starts, it's gonna get really exciting. It's gonna be a lot of work. We're gonna take Quince Street's gonna be shut down June 1st. We're gonna control the access of who, it's gonna be basically just people.
Essential personnel only.
Essential, so, yeah.
All
Any
right.
other questions?
All right.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was your finale.
Great. Warrior Early Learning Center, there's a lot of action happening there if you drive by. Anderson Brothers is working hard on the site work right now, building ponds and getting prepared to do some paving, so that's exciting. Road restrictions came off here a week ago, and it's been nice to see us get to work, so we'll get that project wrapped up by, I think, mid to late June, and July 1, I believe, programming starts, so everything's on track. Garfield. Kyle put a lot of stuff in his presentation. We've been busy at Garfield. Phase 2 has started. We've been working for a few weeks now already. Temp fencing's in place. We're doing excavation for the admin wing and also the cafeteria. Working on the permitting for the gym yet. I believe we're like number 27th in line right now. We called the state today. We're trying to find another way to get that to happen a little faster, because we already have a permit with the existing facility. I know Kyle's been working hard on trying to get that accomplished. Other than that, the admin area has moved into the media center, so we've started some demolition inside the building. We've actually torn apart the cafeteria kitchen. Outstanding job by staff letting us get a head start in there. It's going to really help. It won't make the summer easy, but it's going to definitely help the summer be successful. So we really appreciate all the efforts that have happened there.
Damien, you mentioned asbestos removal. Is asbestos mainly in the ceiling, like these ceiling tiles, or is there other places?
We find it in mastics for flooring. Some of the 9x9 VCT. We find it insulation on pipes, things of that nature. Mm-hmm. Some of the adhesives for the chalkboards and whiteboards and different things as well. You'll find it sometimes too. So depending on what it is, it's, you can do selective asbestos abatement, or you can actually isolate areas and do the full containment. So I do know they have found some additional asbestos to be removed at Garfield as we're doing our demolition, but it's still going well. So does that answer your question?
It did. Thank you.
For your permit placement, a dozen donuts goes a long way.
Send them down to the state. Yeah, there's been a lot of permitting. A lot of plans are being sent in for all kinds of different projects. So I'm a little surprised we're still 27th. We've been in there for a while. South Campus, I think, went in maybe 3-4 weeks earlier than that.
Yeah, we went in January 20th.
Yeah.
Our review complete about 2 weeks ago.
Right, so, and that's obviously a lot more complicated project than our gym addition, but we'll see what we can do. We've had some success actually talking to them down there and actually getting that moving forward. We definitely want to be able to start by June 1st with that addition, just to make sure we get done that early September, I guess late September, early October timeframe that we're targeting. So the sooner we can get through that process, the better. Lowell Elementary, any questions on Garfield? Sorry, jumping ahead. Okay. Lowell Elementary parking lot prep has started. We've taken out, completed the demo of the foundation of the old house, and then also backfilled that. Working the lower levels about as far, we're doing a little bit more down there right now, but we're pretty much as far as we can go for the most part. We're trying to make a little bit of progress until we get into summer mode. Looks really good down there. Again, got a great head start. Boiler room demo started in the lower level. I think a couple of the boilers are down. I think we might still be operating on one boiler, but again, just trying to get prepared to get that stage pulled out of there and then get our cafeteria kitchen addition or kitchen work started. So drywall activities, I know they stocked drywall last week, so huge head start. So. Riverside Elementary, Area A rooms are cleaned, punch list items are completed. We got 4 classrooms completed this spring ahead of that we were able to, move some of the programming around in and got a great head start there as well. So a lot of our efforts this summer at Riverside will be focused on the south side of the building with the indoor air quality and updating some of those classrooms. So we have the cafeteria there and kitchen work as well. All right. Any construction questions before we move to Lindsay Krinz?
Should we do the action item
Sure.
from this?
Sure,
Okay.
that'd be great.
So take a look at one, and in the agenda that we approved, we added not to exceed. We had missed that before, so item number 1, approval of Brainerd High School North Campus Project, proposal request number 40 for the amount not to exceed $84,710.44 to Aqualogic as presented. And hopefully you've saw your pre-board packet.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll move approval of the proposal request number 40 for an amount not to exceed $84,710.44 to Aqualogic as presented.
And I'll second that.
Okay. We have a motion by Director Nelson, second by Director Boyles, to approve proposal request number 40 to Aqualogic for the amount presented. Is there any further discussion?
Just for clarification purposes, I just want to make sure I understand that most, if not all of this is remediation stuff from
code review?
Yep, okay.
A lot of it is, absolutely.
Okay.
Majority of it
I just want to
is.
make sure that's how I understood it. Thank you.
Okay. So we'll take a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion passes unanimously. Now we'll go to Lindsay.
Perfect.
Good evening, everyone.
Well, there she is.
We're not seeing you, Lindsay.
Oh, let me turn my camera on.
Sarah's working on
There
it.
we go. All right, I'm sharing my screen. Can you see my documents I have up?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Very excited tonight to present on behalf of myself from the WITSES team and also Katie Hildenbrand and her team from Architectural Resources. This is the culmination of a lot of hard work and user group meetings on behalf of the school district to review the next round of furniture purchases for the summer of 2021. So on my screen here, I have a summary of the Brainerd Wave 2 Elementary School FF&E package. We have Lowell, Riverside, Garfield, and Brainerd Early Childhood. Our projected budget is provided here on the screen for each of those projects. and our total sum equals much less than that number. This was done intentionally. So what we're doing for this summer is we're focusing on immediate needs for each of the elementary schools, and each of the respective principals have helped us identify those immediate needs. One great example is cafeteria tables that are perhaps built into a wall and will be removed through the renovation project this summer. So we'll need to replace those cafeteria tables with freestanding tables. So that just gives you an example of those immediate needs that we have reviewed. So for Lowell this year, we have a total of 100, maybe I'll skip reading all these numbers. I'll just go to this overall summary total for Brainerd FF&E Wave 2 schools. Elementary school total is $348,985.29. Any questions on the elementary furniture package?
I just have one question. The early childhood, the ECFE, does that include what buildings?
That is just WELC, the Washington Early Learner Center.
The Warrior Early Learning Center, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Warrior. Correct. Any other questions on the elementary schools? No. All right, I'm going to roll over to the high school. The summary page here illustrates the furniture package for both of the career and technical education area of the high school and also the DCD special education area. Our totals are identified here in this actual total column. We've also identified or highlighted within that actual total the amount of money that's being purchased through Sourcewell contract, which is really great to see that a lot of that pricing is coming in still the lowest competitive bid this year. We've also included installation of a lot of this furniture. Since this furniture will come in the heat of the summer, we've discussed with Reed and his team that the buildings and ground staff will be occupied and not able to accommodate installation over the summer months. So we have provided a cost for installation. So the subtotal for approval today is $155,699.36. Overall, just as a summary for you today, we have a 2021 subtotal of $275,552.42. Last summer of 2020 at the high school, we spent $416,263.35 for a grand total spent to date for $815,77. As you can see, through the Sourcewell funded program thus far, we've spent $413,289 through Sourcewell, and we're still within about $90,000 short of our projected budget total. So the pricing through Sourcewell and other service contracts have been giving us really great competitive bids, and so we're continuing to see favorable numbers and stay within or under our budget. Any questions for the high school purchase?
Yeah, Lindsay, so will these purchases be complete now? Or are we realizing this savings here? Or is this like the elementary where there are still more purchases to be made later?
That's a really great question. We still have purchases to be made. There's still some outstanding furniture for the Performing Arts Center that will be purchased, as well as the summer of 2022 that will have a whole round of furniture purchases as well. So this is a running tally. Next year at this time, we'll see another summer of 2022 subtotal added to this.
Lindsay, she also asked about the elementaries. Can you address what you've ordered now and what you intend to order later?
Absolutely. At the elementary schools, we have assessed the immediate needs throughout all of the elementary schools to this point. And we have also incorporated pilot classrooms in each one of the elementary schools. Starting this fall in October, the design team will go back and meet with the pilot classroom users and the principals to better understand the furniture needs of the classroom spaces themselves. The theory being every child currently has a seat, so we didn't need to put those classroom purchases at the highest priority level. So we're going to come back, review those pilot classrooms. Now the pilot classrooms have been installed for about a year. At first, we were getting mixed reviews because they were not being able to be used to their fullest capacity. A lot of the furniture we have is collaborative in nature, and with the students having to space out, the teachers weren't getting a really great understanding of that. So we just put that portion of the project on pause, and we will reconvene those conversations in October of 2021.
Lindsay, are you seeing much inflation in furniture?
That's a great question. We see yearly inflation as a standard. It's usually 2 to 3% overall. This year, we have seen some just standard inflation. Thus far to date, I have not seen any extravagant inflation like we're seeing with building materials, for example. We've also been tracking manufacturing times and material supplies. Everything seems to be really standard and on track for summer production. The one delay that we have seen is in shipping, so we're going to continue to monitor that as we get closer to ordering and installation dates.
Okay.
Well, that was going to be my next question, Ruth. I think it really makes a lot of sense when we're piloting some furniture, so we make sure we get what we need. But if there are purchases that we know we need, I'm sure you're keeping an eye on that, and that we'll make those in a timely manner, because we would hate, if we know we need stuff, we'd hate to wait a year and have 3% on inflation on hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Or have a shortage in supply.
Right, yeah. So I hope that we're keeping a close eye and getting, if we know we need it, we might as well get it if it's in budget.
Yeah, that's really an interesting topic to consider. Last spring of 2020, before the pandemic hit, we talked a lot about collaborative tables. For example, in the elementary schools, we have 4-seat tables or 5-seat tables. Well, this year, we're not able to use those tables to capacity. And so in those pilot classrooms, we actually incorporated more freestanding tables for each student that they can push together to form those same shapes, but then they can also pull them apart. So retroactively looking back, we're really glad that we didn't order those furniture pieces that we originally thought were going to be great, because we've had more time to understand this new world that we're living in.
Any other questions?
Any more questions?
Thanks, Lindsay. Now we'll go on to item number 2, which is approval for the purchase of FF&E for the Wave 2 elementary schools in the amount not to exceed $348,985.29.
And I would like to add, because I don't consider the Warrior Early Learning Center a Wave 2 elementary school, so I think the motion should say, and I'll make this motion, approval of the purchase of FF&E for the Wave 2 elementary schools and the Early Learning Center in the amount not to exceed $348,985.29.
Thanks, Ruth, for that clarification.
I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion by Director Nelson, second by Director Sjogren, to approve the purchase of FF&E for the Wave 2 elementary schools and also the Warrior Early Learning Center. Is there any further discussion?
Director Nystrom, I'll abstain from voting due to conflict.
Okay, duly noted. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pose like sign. Motion passes 5-0 with 1 abstention. Next, we'll go on to approval of the purchase and installation of FF&E for Brainerd High School North Campus Phase 2 BHS Career and Technical Education and Delayed Cognitive Development Classrooms in the amount not to exceed $155,699.36.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay. We have a motion by Director Sjogren, second by Director Boyles, to approve the purchase and installation of FF&E for the Brainerd High School North Campus and the CTE. Any further discussion?
I'll abstain again.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Pose like sign. Motion passes 5-0 with 1 abstention. Thanks, Lindsay. Great work you're doing. Okay, next we're going to go on to, we have a presentation on the,
Thank you.
yeah, thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
2021-22 board checklist is referenced in the board response to the AIPAC vote of non-concurrence. And we have Mr. Murtha.
Good evening. Did you hear me? There we go. We're back. Okay, you have before you in the board packet the checklist that is part of the full response from the board for the vote of non-concurrence from the American Parent Indian Advisory Committee. It lays out, according to each portion of the response from the board, a due date and who is assigned with the responsibility of fulfilling that work. It is not a chronological organization. It is listed along the lines of the items that were presented in the original vote of non-concurrence list of recommendations. There are 4, I believe. One's directly tied to the school board and its oversight of the district, including the first one, which is just the obligation for the entire school year of 21-22 to facilitate and maintain open communication with AIPAC and making sure that we're having the conversations that we should have. There is a May 10th one, that is today, which is the first one that we're going to fulfill, and that is the submission of the checklist of due dates and responsibilities. If you turn further on in, on item 3AB, you'll see that the Director of Teaching and Learning will facilitate the continuous improvement process and bring that in front of the board in the at a September school board meeting. And finally, the June 30th date, 2021, the completion of this rubric. This is going to be the rubric for the American Indian Education Self-Assessment Structure from MDE. The school administrators are finishing that up this week. We will be discussing it in compliance with this document as well at the admin meeting on Wednesday, and then I will be giving you the opportunity to have your responses shortly thereafter. So we'll have this done by the end of May, actually in advance. So any questions that you have about the obligations here?
Tim has worked very hard on this, and so we are extremely appreciative of his due diligence to make sure that we're addressing everything that we promised. And so thank you, Tim, for your time and energy on this.
That's what you paid me for.
Any questions or comments that anyone wants to make?
There's a lot to do here, so do you have, are these timelines and deadlines reasonable for you to fulfill?
They're reasonable, but they are stretch. Okay, we believe we have the capacity to provide each of the kinds of information that are requested and in a timely fashion. There's a calendar for the school year that drives a lot of the work in the teaching and learning department, as you know. There's times we're doing curriculum work, times we're doing staff dev, times we do data work. The key date is August 10th. That's the district's continuous improvement retreat. So let's start back mapping from there. So all those August 6 dates that you see in this document are 1 week prior to that date. Now, there's an awful lot of data that needs to be assembled and processed here to be shared out. We believe we can do it. The historic data back 3, 4, 5 years, all that exists and is public. State accountability test data that we are collecting right now through MCAs, that will be embargoed up until a point when the Minnesota Department of Education says it's not embargoed. And that's a common event every year. The last two, well, last year there was none. We had two shares, so there'll be a hole in the data no matter what we do. This year, we've been warned that it could be late. So there's a stipulation on any August 6th date. If it's disembargoed, we can share it publicly. If not, it's for internal use only. If the data is not public by August 10th, that's not a problem for the CIP committees. They may still work with their data because it's internal use. It would be a problem to share it in any way publicly. So we'll watch that date as we get closer. But those are elements that are beyond our control at that point. And then we would just be sharing out what we got once we're legally allowed to share it. But certainly the historic data we can.
What's the communication back to the AIPAC group besides their access to this being a public meeting? Is there any direct communication or is any?
The American Indian Education Coordinator, Mrs. Ingebrigtsen, she is my liaison between the Department of Teaching Learning, the district, and the American Indian Parent Advisory Committee. So she attends every meeting in my department, she attends every one of their meetings, and she is the go-between. She'll be waiting for your action tonight to accept this document, and then she will deliver it to them at their next AIPAC meeting.
Okay, thanks.
And she's been doing that for years. That's been the ongoing structure.
Newbie questions.
No worries.
So, Tim, I want to publicly thank you for your work on this. You've laid it out, and I know these are some stretches, but I appreciate that you've got some milestones on a calendar.
Sure.
As Director Nelson pointed out, there's a lot of work here, but appreciate your work on it and how you've laid things out. With that, I would move to approve this response as presented.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second it.
Okay. We have a motion by Director Hagelin, second by Director Boyles to approve the board checklist as referenced in the board response to the AIPAC vote of non-concurrence and as presented. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose like sign. Motion passes unanimously. Thank
you very much.
Thanks again. Well, our next topic is naming of the Performing Arts Center. This is the moment we were waiting for.
Okay,
Welcome.
thank you. All right, well, I'm here tonight to report to you on the input we gathered based on your directions last time we spoke about this, on what the name should be for that facility that Mike is going to start working on probably right now. Okay, first, out of the responses we got, 19 total, I believe. 26% were on members of the Equity Task Force, 42% were from the original committee, and then 31% were you all. So I broke the presentation up into your consideration for sort of the beginning and then the end of the title for this facility. So the first one, I categorized many of the votes. You see that 21 votes were cast for a word from a local tribal language. The word meaning Big River got the most of those votes, but you can see that there were a number of others for other ones. I was not able to find pronunciations for these, so I won't try, because some of them seem hard. Except Nokosipi, I got that one. The second largest category for votes were variations of the original submission, and you see those three there. And if you're ready, the next page is really just ones that got a few votes here and there.
Just from what I can see, Corey, it doesn't look like there's many changes from the original. I mean, these new names that were in the highest one only got 4 votes.
Correct. Yeah, these again are the highest vote getting kind of 2 categories.
Charles, that main word from the local tribal, is it Gitche Zibi? How would that be pronounced?
I'm not a native speaker for the Ojibwe people. Gichizibi would be my guess, but.
Okay. Well, you see what the new submission was. As far as the non-native names, we have Brainerd Lake Center for the Arts, which appears to be the top vote getter. And from the local tribal language, it looks like Gitche Zibi, which means big river in Ojibwa. Does anyone want to start the discussion?
So which ones are the top vote getters then?
So
Just like
the-
it lays out, am I overthinking this? It's the 10, if there's 10?
Mm-hmm. Because for a lot of people, that was their top choice in a category.
Well, this is the total number of votes.
Right, right.
Yes.
So they're ranked, actually, as you look at
Oh,
them.
okay.
Yeah, so when you saw these, they were in different categories that don't have any meaning here. And what I did this time is just really added up all the votes, and as I saw a trend, and really the two biggest trends that were there in the data were, one, a word from a local tribal language, or two, the original submission. So those categories are my attempt to bring some order to them.
Okay.
Nothing that anyone voted on that way.
Corey, could you flash to the second page again, super quick?
Sure.
Because I think I would start it, Bob, by saying that basically, I mean, there's no consensus on anything here, not even on this body, right? There's no evidence to support that more than one or two of us voted for anything on this. So it feels to me like we should limit our discussion to page 1.
Okay.
Unless there's objections from the rest of the board.
How you all feel?
I agree.
Okay. So we'll just look at page 1 then.
Okay.
And to go further, what I would say is the first name up there under the tribal language name, I like it, but for the very reason that Corey didn't try to pronounce it. I did not pick this one because I had concerns about it, the ability to Google it, the ability to pronounce it, and the ability to publish it. So I'm one of the 5 on Nokasippi because I thought it was the next best one with a native connotation to it. So that was my rationale for not choosing it.
Okay.
I'll point out that the word that means the crossing, I Googled it this afternoon to try and see what tribe it was associated with, and I couldn't find that, but I did see that it was a name that was discussed as being an original name for Brainerd. It was embedded in the history of Brainerd somehow.
How do you pronounce that word?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
That the one that's in quotes, pay homage to native tribe, was a general comment that somebody put in. Just basically saying, check with the tribes who originally lived in this area, find a word that means something to them, and 2 people voted for that, so.
Well, I know we've had emails and we've had public discussion from a person, I can't remember what her name was, about possibly a local tribal language name. And I think you all got the email this week. So, I mean, Gitche Zibi, I think once we learn to say it, has kind of a nice ring to it. And I like the big river. My favorite, truthfully, was the blue water, so that's what I voted for, but that didn't get very many votes, so. Brainerd Lake Center for the Arts, it sounds like everything else around here. I'd rather have something more unique.
I think a couple things, if I could jump in here with, and it's not an attempt to convict anyone, because it's something that I struggle with it as well, is oftentimes in my professional career and my personal life, when I meet someone from a different ethnic background with a name that I can't pronounce, I'll call them Sam, or a variant of the person's real name, because it's too tricky for me to pronounce. And I take the easy way out of communication instead of taking the time to learn the proper pronunciation of my friend's name. And I guess I would challenge us to be thinking outside of our comfort here, but be thinking of what can really tie our students present, along with students and even those that came before many of you here to this particular area. So Gitchizibi may be a foreign phrase to many of you, even myself included, and even provide a little bit of discomfort in terms of how it flows off the tongue. But to me, where I sit, it's significant in terms of drawing a significant reference to those that came before many of you, and but also the significance of the river. The river doesn't just represent us here in Brainerd, but I think it also needs to be looked at how our students, this high school here, the school district, it's significant to our area, but it also flows into their lives of many of them, that eventually leads them out of this area into the bigger world, into another part of the country in a very influential way. And I believe that river, the Mississippi River, does that for our youth, but also for members of our community. And it represents us up north, but also it flows into the rest of the country as well, and even into the Gulf of Mexico, into the greater world. And so I feel that this is a clear fit and a natural fit, even though on the front end here might be a tongue twister for some.
If I could make a comment, what if we called it the Gitche-Zibby Brainerd Lake Center for the Arts? It would incorporate the native name, but it would also incorporate the geographic name of our area. And the reason I say this, back in the mid-'60s when the new high school was built, we were coming from Washington, and all of our schools had a name of a famous person, and they named it Brainerd High School. And a lot of people back then said, why did they name it Brainerd High School? Why wouldn't it be someone of the time? It could have been the Space Center, it could have been a native name, but they picked Brainerd. And I still like the idea of incorporating Brainerd Lakes into the name, just because people are gonna see it, and a lot of people from outside our area will not know where Gitche-Zibby Performing Arts Center is. Maybe eventually they will, but we get a lot of people here in the summer that are from different parts of the country, and they just won't know where this place is. So it'd be a way of incorporating both. Be honorable to the native culture, but also putting the geographic name in. And when I say Brainerd Lakes, I mean also Baxter, Nisswa, Garrison, and everything in between, because that's truly what our community is. You guys are really quiet. We gotta.
I'm just thinking about what you're saying.
Okay.
It gets rather long, and I'm trying to think if there's a way to shorten it.
Is it conflicting to have river and lakes in it?
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that, as well as to your point, Ruth, the Brainerd Lakes, it's really is overused. I wondered about the Gitche-Zibby, is that how you pronounce that?
Mm-hmm.
Center for the Arts. And, it's Brainerd, Baxter, it's Nisswa, it's Garrison, it's all those communities. But.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like not having Brainerd Lakes in there, because people are going to learn where it's at, and if you advertise it, you say Brainerd, Minnesota, you say the location, and the community will know. So I don't think that's...
Well, it doesn't all have to go on the sign, right?
Yeah.
You could have the Gitche-Zibby Performing Arts Center at Brainerd High School. Then people would know because it's at Brainerd High School. My only concern, as I mentioned at the beginning of this, was the fact that people who don't know what it is, if they're searching for an event, will try to Google it.
Mm-hmm. Right. So it'd be nice to have that Brainerd name just because of the search
Something
engine.
somehow, so that now we can do wonders with that from a marketing perspective with search engine optimization and, controlling kind of how all of that works. And then I think that gets back to Charles's point, because I'm very comfortable with Gitche-Zebe. Nokasippi, to me, it was another nearby river, sent sort of the same message, and I could take a wild guess if somebody said it out loud, how to type it into my search engine, was my thinking behind it. Where if somebody says Gitche-Zebe to me, I'm like, I got the G, and there's a Z in there somewhere, right?
Right. I do think that one of the places up until now with our Performing Arts Center, for me, the place that I look to in terms, at least in the Northland, of a center for the arts is the Rife Center. And when you say the Rife Center, if anybody is familiar with the performing arts, you know where it is. It's Grand Rapids.
Yep. So I would agree with you that it's all in the packaging, the messaging, and how we push it out there. I agree with what I think I hear Director Blackland saying, that the idea of having that name, the fact that people don't know what it means is probably a good thing, because they'll ask what it means. And that's a teachable situation where we have an opportunity, to kind of tie it all together.
Do we have the opportunity to do both? To Bob's point, and to me, Brainerd Lakes doesn't tell anybody that it's at the high school either, is my only concern. Do we have the opportunity to call it the Gitche-Zebe Auditorium at the Brainerd High School Center for the Arts? And I don't know if we have that opportunity today. We're talking about naming the whole center, but it's just striking me that it maybe, because I do think it is important for people to know where, and they'll figure it out, to Kevin and Charles's point eventually. I just wonder if there's a way to name the center and a way to name the auditorium in one swoop here.
And that would be a possibility.
And I guess I never really understood why that was where we lost that, let's say a year or two ago, the idea that you could name essentially the entire facility.
Yeah.
Call it the complex. Of course, we already know we have the opportunity to name the Black Box Theater, right? That's a given.
Right.
But the auditorium itself, I think if I'm hearing Jana correctly, that's a question I raised before. I mean, the idea that you could name the auditorium something, and then you could name the complex something. So you actually have the opportunity for 3 names, any one of which could be, then you could put in your Blue Water or your lakes or anything like that you want to do to pay homage to that piece of it. But I don't know that we need to solve that tonight necessarily, but it would be nice to know that we intend to take that up at some point.
I think we need more discussion on that prior to naming anything more than just the
Yep. But I mean,
facility.
so to be clear, what we're talking about naming is the complex.
Correct.
Superintendent Larson, you have a seat at the table. What are your thoughts?
I'm not voting.
Well, but you can have discussion.
But you know what, Charles said it very eloquently about, the big river running, and I just loved what you said. And I think that should be part, if we choose that name, that should be part of our introduction to the facility. And we could expand on that and everything, but I like having a native name. I really do. So I'd be Gitche-Zebe.
Center for the Performing Arts.
Well, they'd like to stay away from performing because that's what CLC has.
Oh, okay, so Center for the Arts.
And I like the idea of calling it
Arts
Center for
Center.
the Arts, because there's opportunity to display visual art
That's
and
right.
Yep.
other types of art
did you
in the
say?
building.
Yep. I mean, another email that we got suggested cultural center.
Oh, and here, look at what Claire just put up.
What was the name you put? What was the name?
I like the idea of not including performing, because I think there are
Okay.
many ways that art will take shape in the space. So I think it's
Sure,
okay to
not
call it
just
for the arts, because it might be that it's display of photography or paintings in the lobby from students, and that's not performing art, that's a separate kind of art.
And then maybe Gitche-Zebe Performance and Arts Center allows the acronym PAC to endure as a secondary moniker for it, that people will give it anyway, as you mentioned a couple of meetings ago.
You know it as the GPAC?
Oh, yeah, it probably, Z-Pack. Which is
True
the
pharmacist.
antibiotic.
CPAC. Oh, no.
I like the GPAC better. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Right, because no matter what we do tonight, we're not going to control what the public does with
Right.
it from an acronym
Right.
perspective or whatever. So the fact that we can kind of incorporate that into our thinking ahead of time probably makes some sense. I like the sound of that.
Feedback.
Because if somebody was Gitchy Zibby, what, the pack? Oh, yeah, you know.
Well, a lot of people have also heard the name Gitchy, you know, from the Gordon Lightfoot song, Gitchy Goomy,
Yeah.
from Lake Superior, so they're already familiar with that part. And the Zimmy sounds like Mississippi, you know, so there are correlations.
Well, that is the root of
Well,
Mississippi,
yeah,
yes.
you could also go with I think it's a Mississippi, but that's basically Mississippi. I mean, that's where I think Mississippi derived
I
from.
like Great River.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Same here.
Gitchy, so which of the endings do we like then? Gitchy, Zibby, Center for the Arts, or Arts Center?
I like what Janice said about not limiting it to the performing arts,
Yeah. So Center for the Arts?
Center for the Arts.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we name the new center. Oh, no, Gitchy.
Can you put it back there so
Center
we
for
can
the
see the
Arts.
spelling?
Is that right? Okay, Gitchy.
The other thing that I think about that is that it does kind of give some merit to what the initial committee did, where they had Center for the Arts.
Right.
It just changes the first part of it, but it does give credence to the work that that committee did.
Right. Okay, so we have a motion to name it the Gitchy Zibby Center for the Arts. Is there a second?
Is it on 2 lines or is it one full line like that? Is it Gitchy Zibby on top or does it not matter?
I think that'll be probably a graphic design.
Because we're going to be doing that soon here now, once we have a name, so.
I will second the motion.
Okay.
So we have Ruth and Kevin? Okay.
So we have a motion by Director Nelson, second by Director Boyles, to approve the name for the Performing Arts Center to Gitchy Zibby Center for the Arts. Is there any further discussion?
I would add one thing, just to caveat this, that I'm very comfortable with this, with the idea that at some point in the future, we're going to revisit the auditorium as well.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the auditorium, the lobby, and the black box.
Yeah. Because there'll be other opportunities for other names to come forward that pay respects to other things as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and from a marketing perspective, this doesn't go into the name per se, but again, if there are ways to help people understand where this is. I mean, it's a simple tagline at first saying at Brainerd High School.
Absolutely.
You know, that can go, it doesn't have to be on the signage or anything like that, but just to,
Correct.
Okay.
you know, we can help people understand where this is.
I didn't know if she had typoed or not. So
You know-
it is ZIIBI. Okay.
Coming from an older white person that grew up in Brainerd, I would have never thought we would have done something like this, but it just shows you how far that we have come in diversity and recognizing other cultures, but especially of the culture that was here for centuries before the white man came. And I think it's a good name. It refers to the river. It will be easy to pronounce when people learn it. And like you say, Director Blacklands, people will probably have an acronym for it, so.
What did it stand for again? Big River?
Great.
Great River. Okay, thank you.
So Gitchy must be a broad term. It could be a lake. It's some body of water. It must.
And
Great.
Gitchy must be large,
Okay.
I
It's
guess, big.
Okay. Any further discussion? Should we do a roll call?
It's not needed, is it?
Not needed? Okay.
I think you need to.
Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor of this name, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion passes unanimously. Thanks, Corey, for all your work on this.
Yep. Thank you, Corey.
Okay, next we will hear about the approval of the 21-22 health insurance premiums as presented. Marcy Lord.
Not nearly as entertaining, sorry, guys.
Oh,
So in your packet is a summary of what was presented to the Benefits Committee, NIS's presentation, and then also just a summary that I had put together. So last year we went for our reinsurance policy from 175 to 200. You'll see in there that we're going to go from 200 to 300. We're doing well on our fund balance, so we are taking on more risk. However, we have plenty of money in the fund balance to cover that risk. NIS had actually recommended that we could go higher. We're not going quite that far, so potentially next year we could go higher again. But for right now, we're just going to go to 300. The recommendation is 25%, 3 months for claims. We are projected right now at the end of this year to be at 43.6. And then with the recommendation of what the rates would be, we'd be at 56% by the end of next year. In there, I talk about Plan B, C, and F would be 0% increases. F is the minimum or the bronze plan that we offer with no contribution, and it's mainly for casual employees, so you might not recognize that plan. And then Plan D is the same as Plan G, but it's with an HRA, and the only reason why I'm notating those two is because in NIS's presentation, those two were not referenced at all. So just wanted to make that clear that it's in the memo, however, it wasn't in the presentation. And then just asking for approval of the 0% and then 6% decreases on the other 3 plans as presented in NIS's packet. Is there any?
I have one question in this.
Yeah.
Just something to think about, and I hate to even bring this up, but with COVID in the past year, I listened to a news info session, and they said a lot of people did not go into the doctor when they should have and delayed their treatments, and so there may be more serious health issues coming up.
Mm-hmm.
So with that in consideration, is now the time to increase our stop loss by that much?
NIS thought that the risk was, it was okay to take that on just because we'd have to, I believe it was, take on at least an additional 3 or 4 more people for that to not, we'd be saving almost $300,000 on the premiums by going to this.
Hopefully we won't
Yeah.
have that issue. I don't know if you have any thoughts on
No, the only thing I'd add is we have the backstop, right? So if we have any significant claims, there's a backstop there that reduces the district liability as it relates to the total cost of something major that would come along.
But it's 300
Yeah.
instead of 200.
Yeah, and then the other thing I would add, just for the benefit of the rest of the board, because Director Nelson and I sit on that committee, is that this is part of a broader strategy with our consultant to migrate to a sort of more consumer-driven healthcare setup, but we couldn't do it all in one fell swoop. It has to be done in phases, or our liability becomes too great. The culture shock to the people that are migrating from one type of health coverage to another type of health coverage would be too great. So it was felt that this was the best sort of incremental positioning that reduced or limited the district's risk, but also gave staff at every level access to pretty much the same health care they had before with some nuances to it.
So our savings for that stop loss is 300,000.
It's yeah, I can get you the exact number, but it's a large number.
Okay, so that would be 3 more people. Okay.
Yep. And I was going to add to your comment of the number of people. Where was I going with that? I totally lost it. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I got.
Well, while Marcy goes there, I mean, the ultimate end game is to try to eventually encourage more staff to move to what would be considered a consumer-directed health plan paired with like a health savings account. Right. Because that's, in the end, if it's used properly, is actually better for the district and better for the employee if they understand how it works. But there is a migration strategy that you have to have, because it's the first year that you do it. It can be very, very tricky to navigate.
I was going to respond also not only with stop loss, but the claims, that was a question of like if COVID, if it's like starts to slow down a little bit, what if we see an increase in claims? And NIS responded and said, you're not going to see a huge increase in claims because we only have so much capacity,
Yeah,
right?
the medical system.
Yep.
They're more concerned about it in dental.
Yep.
But even not so much there too, right? I mean, it was the same thing. It was like, okay, the dentists only have so much capacity. You
Yeah.
can't have
You
a
only
300% surge in dentistry because there aren't enough dentists to do that dental work.
Right. You only have so many hours in the day.
Any other questions? Marcy, how many people in this past year would have been over 300,000?
I want to say we were at 5. But I can double check on that.
So over 1,000 employees. I mean, that's not bad. It's worth the risk.
Yeah, and like I said, they wanted to go even higher, and I
Thank you for not going to. Makes me a little nervous.
yes, agreed. Agreed.
Yeah, and we are in a really good position right now with our fund balance on this, so it's a good time to start working on those changes.
Yeah, so that's another, sort of mitigating factor, right? If we did have a little bit of a surge, at least we have the fund balance to sort of offset some of it.
Yes, exactly. And if that is the case, the question was posed, can we go back down? And there is, you'd have to, he said that you would have to work with underwriting, but we could go back down. So.
Any other questions? Does someone want to make a motion?
I move to approval of the 2021-2022 health insurance premiums as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Director Blacklands, second by Director Nelson to approve the 21-22 health insurance premiums as presented. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose like sign. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marcy.
Good job. Good job, both of you too.
Next, we're going to look at the approval of MSBA Policy 516 for the 3-year review as presented by Corey Reynolds. And this has to do with student medication. Oh, who was it, Corey, that? Oh,
No changes.
so no changes.
Well,
Okay,
there are changes in it. The red.
Happy to take any questions on the proposed changes.
Corey, does this policy sort of cover like kids that need medication in school and how we administer them?
Yes, correct.
And all these are MSBA proposed changes, correct? I think that's what I saw. Or model policy language.
I would assume so. I know our district nurses did look at it and make some tweaks just to make it more sense to our practices.
I thought it was interesting that we had to spell out that topical sunscreen was okay.
I did too. I thought that was,
Like, really?
really?
I'll move to approve policy 516 as presented.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion by Director Hegland, second by Director Blacklands to approve the next 3-year period for policy number 516. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion passes unanimously. Thanks, Corey. Finally, we're into the informational, and Superintendent Larson gave you that update from the Brainerd Public Schools Foundation. It was an incredible event. I met people that I haven't seen in 40 years. I'll give you an example. Ramona Rugloski, whose family had a farm south of Brainerd, and it's their family scholarship, and just good, hardworking people. And Tom, you probably remember the Rugloskis. But It was just really nice to reconnect with people that had gone through Brainerd High School. Also, we have people that you wouldn't even think would give a scholarship. There's one man who didn't even go through our public school system who sponsors a scholarship that's $20,000 a year to an engineering student. And I had a long conversation with him, and he said, you know, he had worked at the paper mill and he felt terrible that the paper mill had closed. And he said, I want more kids in engineering, but that would also consider coming back. And so that's why he does it. And now it's his fifth one, and the very first person is just graduating. Yep. So who knows, maybe there'll be an engineer at Lindar someday, or maybe someone else. But to try to get these kids to come back, you know, that's a great goal for us. So, and as Lane said, roughly $140,000 was given out in scholarships, which is a really good number, and it keeps growing. Next I didn't know Director Boyles is going to talk about district promotion planning.
With a lot of help from Chair Nystrom and Superintendent Larson, I might add. But I was fortunate enough to be graciously invited to attend a meeting last week about some different things that we can take a look at doing to further promote the school district in a variety of different ways. One, in what I would call paid formats, because, and I'll let Superintendent Larson get into specifics, but we have allocated dollars for, I guess, for the next 2 years that we can devote specifically to marketing ISD 181. With a couple of sort of end games in mind. One is, you know, think of it as offense and defense, right? On one hand, we want to play defense and make sure that all of the people in our community that are sending their kids to our schools are being kept apprised of all of the amazing things that are happening in our schools. We've done a lot of talking over the last couple of years about what's happening to the outsides of our schools and what's happening to the structures. And I think what we're really excited about is combining that marketing message with one about all the really cool stuff that's happening organically inside those facilities. Because I think that's maybe what most parents care about a little bit more. So we're excited about the ideas that are there. So we started to throw some things, and Corey and Carla had some really, really great, they have a great plan already in place from a blueprint standpoint, bullet points on all the different things that we can do. That's what I would call that. I would call that a skeleton. I'm excited because I know Director Nelson's going to get involved in this too. And so I'm excited for some more discussions about what we can do to best use those available resources to not only do that defense and keep the people that are sending their kids here happy, but let's go find those other 260 kids. And let's show them that there's big stuff happening at ISD 181, and those kids should be back here instead of wherever they are now. So there's a lot of different ways to do that. We talked about a bunch of different things around just better community engagement, better leveraging of the media outlets that are available to us, paid media like billboards and advertising, social media, all of that kind of stuff. But it was very, very early stages, but very encouraging. Like I said, Corey did an excellent job putting this all together, so I'm excited to work on it some more. Anything to add, you two? You were in the meeting.
I just thought it was a great meeting. And I also thank Corey, you know, for leading us along in that. I think, you know, I have to admit it, we have not ever really done this to a big extent. We've mainly done our promotion within our district. But sadly, we have some districts around us that have come into our district and picked students out of our district. And we have reached a point where we now have to market ourselves. Quite frankly, I wish that open enrollment, no, I'm sorry. What did government, open enrollment, right? No. Yeah, had never happened, because if a school district is doing the right job, there's no reason for that student to leave. And we all follow MDE guidelines, and we have so much to offer in this school district. And we just got to get that word out better.
I would agree. The only other thing I would add to that was the other thing we discussed and don't really have a plan for yet is also an idea from a community engagement perspective that if there are people in the community that have specific expertise in some of these things, we would be more than willing to allow them to volunteer some time to come help us with some of these things, because everybody here's got a day job. Corey's got 9 day jobs, best I can tell.
Yep.
And so anybody that has expertise that would be willing to, at minimum, review what we're doing, or, you know, if you're out there and you're listening, we would love to have you come collaborate with us.
Superintendent Larson, what are your takeaways?
I think you guys have done a really nice job, and I concur. I think that Corey and Carla have done a great job setting that framework, and I thought the meeting was great that day. I thought the brainstorming that was occurring was really positive and uplifting and encouraging and proactive, and that felt good. I liked your comment about we do really a great job at the structural piece, but we need to get at the nitty-gritty, some of the fine, soft skills of what we do in our district and showcase what's happening in our buildings. And I think we certainly try, but what I took from the conversation is that you're looking at a more concerted effort. And another thing we talked about, yes, people in the community, but also right within, there might be more opportunities right within if we look at how we do some of our staffing model and those kinds of things. And so I think right now that the energy is high. It's exciting. This is a fun venture, and we're just really excited to have the opportunity to do this, because we really do feel, and we do an incredible job of educating children in the school district. We're really proud of everything that our teachers do, that the collaboration between parents, students, and the school. And we need to showcase that and do a little bit of bragging about it, because we're really proud of the work that
I agree.
our
We'll have a
team does.
unique opportunity as summer unfolds and some of these facilities come completely online. Hopefully the COVID restrictions relax enough that we can start running tours for the community of these buildings. And that's sort of the free beer. We offer that to get them to come in. But when they're in there, then we tell them our story. That's where we tell that deeper story about what we've done to create a better experience for their children than they're going to get anywhere else.
Years ago, when my eldest daughter was 4 and we were beginning to plan towards kindergarten, my wife is a country mouse and I'm a country mouse. We both grew up small town. We assumed we'd go to some neighboring schools. That's just what we assumed. And our home that we were in was a starter home, and we figured we'd still work at the college, but probably go to a bedroom community. But somebody encouraged us to go take a look at Baxter School, and as luck would have it, Mr. Lofberg, the principal at the time, was there and got us on campus, showed us what he had and how much they loved their teachers, how much the teachers loved the students. We never looked back. It was the best decision that we could have made, was to stay here. But even more so was to at least take a look and get in that door.
Yep. Well, and again, I can't stress it enough that 2 years ago, when my job allowed me to not have to be located in suburban Chicago anymore, the minute I could bring my son back here to complete high school in this district, I jumped at the opportunity and we moved.
So neat stories.
Yeah. So thank you. That's what our summer will look like. Yeah. Okay, next
Something
is.
besides
Don't plan any
COVID.
big vacations, Bob.
Oh, okay. Business Services Report, Marcy Lord.
Right, so in your board packet is the enrollment report. We are down 90 from the beginning of the year. Last year at this time, we were down 74. We are up 54 from the budget, and then we were up 31 from the budget in prior year. So this is going to be the last report for the year. We'll start doing some submissions, turn in these student counts into actual ADMs. We'll get some preliminary reports in August, and then hopefully be able to use some of those numbers in September for the audit. And then we have another budget meeting tomorrow, and then hopefully at the next board meeting I can present a summary like I normally do, just a preliminary of FTEs, what it looks like for next year, and then in June you guys will approve the actual budget. And that's all I have, unless there's any questions.
So do we have any thoughts on when the legislature will finish up?
My last update was not a great one, because they said, there could be a potential government shutdown, but
if they don't come up.
We're going to be doing a little writing campaign starting this week,
There
so.
may already be a partial government shutdown. I only got responses from one of our elected leaders when I reached out.
Really?
When is the last day of the legislature?
Friday?
Next Monday, isn't
On Monday, is it?
So it'll be an interesting week.
Yeah.
17th? Okay. Yeah, it will. Yeah.
Superintendent's report?
Well, I just want to thank everybody for you've really hit all the things that I was going to talk about. The only thing that I would like you to look at is the future meetings. And we modified all the things that are really being clumped into from May 10th until May 26th. And your list has, did you give this to everyone? No. Oh, well, let me just add a few more, because this is what my list looks like, so it's a big one. But just a few things. Reminder that tomorrow is the last day of school for our senior class in person. However, Wednesday through Friday, they will be having distance learning, and next Friday, we will have their graduation. And again, that was just a really awesome plan so that all of our kids are going to be able to walk through graduation. So we're excited about that. We are in hopes, appreciate the quick project oversight team get together today to talk about the grand opening of the PAC. I just want to reiterate for everybody, it is our goal that as soon as we get occupancy, that we will have the events in the, what's it called again?
You say the grand opening of what?
I get it.
Center.
I'm not there yet. I'm so sorry. The Gitchizibbi Center for the Arts. Anyway, I'm going to get that. That's neat. That's creative.
Or ZPAC as.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Charles actually.
Let's not tell people about that. Anyway, orchestra concert on May 14th at 7 o'clock. Hopefully on Friday will be our very first event in the center. And then the all sports banquet is going to be held there on Sunday at 3 o'clock with the choir concert next Monday at 6 o'clock. And throughout the evening, there's different ones. Then on May 19th, the Fine Arts Awards Banquet will be held there. On the 19th and 20th, there will be the Lincoln Education Center graduations. All of those are going to be individual celebrations, however, where it's like one student at a time. It's not going to be a large group graduation at the LEC like it has been a couple of years ago. But at 4 o'clock on May 20th, Thursday the 20th, the Brainerd Learning Center will have their graduation here at Tornstrom. And on the 21st, we'll have graduation at 7 o'clock at the Don Adamson Field. The board usually shows up between 6:30 and 6:45. And we will look forward to our graduates. That is also the last day of school for all students. We'll have the spring fling and the grad blast that night, and then the next day will be the prom at 8 o'clock at the NP Center. And then I want to remind everyone that on Monday, May 24th at South Campus, the groundbreaking ceremony will take place at 11 o'clock with our second regular meeting at noon of the Board of Education. And then the 26th at 6 o'clock will be the, I so apologize, it's just not, it's not in my head yet. The Gitchizibbi Center for the Arts grand opening. And so I just want to remind everyone that we can have 425 people. It is open to the public. And if you look online, you'll see an invitation that looks like this with the curtains and such. Or you can go online to the activities office and reserve tickets at that time. They're free, but you do have to have a ticket so we don't go over the 425.
Yes, and you're limited to 2 per order.
Yeah, per email or whatever. So, yeah, you're correct. So we're trying to get as many people in as we can. On Friday, we didn't have very many people yet that had gone on, and the site is tinyurl.com/P, opening, PAC opening. And so, but look online, you'll see this, you'll see it under the activities, but you do have to have a ticket to come in so that we know that we don't go over the 425.
And it's slick and easy to sign.
It's
out.
very easy, yes.
So we don't have to worry about seats, right?
Right.
No,
It doesn't,
it's just,
okay.
Yeah. And we've got last, I think Wednesday or Thursday, we kind of talked about what the program's going to look like. We're hoping to have it done in about an hour. All the speeches are 2 minutes or less, so we're going to keep it really condensed and very short. And the speeches are in between when the music and the theater and those kinds of things are changing behind the curtain. And so we're going to have 2 to 3 short little speeches in between while they do the changes. So I think it's going to be creatively done that way. Following the show, we will give tours. We also will have some tours at the beginning. If people get there early, we'll be willing to do that. But we may ask all the board members will be introduced at the beginning. I know Chair Nystrom is going to introduce the board members at the beginning and have you stand. And then we may ask you just to kind of walk a small group of people around afterwards to show them the site. So something we're really proud of. But we think that within 2 hours, an hour for the program, an hour to kind of wander and look around, and it shouldn't be a real late evening. So from 6 o'clock to about 8 o'clock that night. So that's what I have.
Great.
I'll ask for Charles, but is there going to be donuts there afterwards?
There's no food or beverage because we still are under those parameters, and so
right.
there won't be any. However,
BYOD.
yeah, bring your own donuts, that's right. So anyway, that's my report tonight.
Lane, the sports banquet and the fine arts banquet, it's listed as the Performing Arts Center, but how will that work? Will the banquet be, because it's listed as a banquet, but yet it's supposed to be.
It's not really, I might have called it a banquet. It's just a all sports presentation. And
Okay.
I think from what Charlie had told me is it's mostly acknowledging the seniors, but don't quote me on that for sure. But the fine arts banquet, I did forget to mention, is May 19th at 7 o'clock, I believe. And that's always a really fun evening too.
And if we're able to attend?
Yeah,
board
I
members
think
can
so.
attend?
I certainly think board members are always welcome to attend. And if we can be up to 425 guests, I don't see that there should be any problem. And we'd love to have you come to anything that you can come to. That's why the calendar got so long, so.
Yeah.
Kind of funny how the PAC grand opening's the 26th, and then restrictions even get more open on the 27th, but it's, you know.
Yeah, because there will be no food or beverage inside the auditorium, but obviously in the lobby and other parts.
Right.
There will be.
And there just won't be for this particular day, but we're not going to reschedule it again. Somebody did ask that today, and we said, no, we're set for that day, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any other business to come before the board? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Okay, second? Okay, motion by Director Blackland, second by Director Hagelin to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign, motion adjourned.